back, but hold on, I'm not seeing my friend. There we go. All right, welcome to episode 1 of the Dan and Jer Podcast. That's what we'll call it right now. We
Cool.
definitely had a bunch of technical difficulties for like the last 30 minutes, but I think we finally figured it out. I feel like if I didn't have mushroom microdoses, I would have never figured it out, but I was able to just make connections and be like, oh, I need this audio to this headphone to this microphone. Finally got it. So I think what we want to get into or talk a little bit about today is something we've both been pretty interested in, a little bit of mushroom microdosing. So I first really got into mushroom microdosing probably like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Started doing it a little bit, just putting like a little bit into my smoothies. The biggest problem I had when I initially started was having the same amount or having the same feeling or same outcomes consistently. So eventually started doing more research, eventually started making capsules of it so that I had like a consistent amount, which was good. And then also started practicing like basically taking days off. I take it once every 3 days now. Kind of like keeps the tolerance good, keeps it so that it's not, you don't need to take too much every time. You can take the same amount and you'll consistently get same feelings. What are your thoughts on, I guess, consistency, dosage, any of that?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much a lot of the things you said. Before I ever experienced microdosing with the capsules, I would just have mushrooms and kind of just break or take a small piece off or whatever. But like you said too, when it comes to concentration, even if you have one batch of mushrooms that is all the same, you never know if that 0.3 that one day is going to have the same amount of psilocybin as the 0.3 from another day. Each mushroom gets a different concentration. So I've definitely noticed that. And I also have some friends, you were talking about taking the off days, which I personally think is extremely important because I've talked to some people about microdosing and they're like, oh, so you just do it every day? Or I know some people who are like, I do it every day. And I feel at that point, it completely becomes a placebo because I'm sure as you're familiar, like if you take an eighth of mushrooms one day, the next consecutive day, you would need to take a quarter to feel the same amount because there's a diminishing returns. So yeah, I think a lot of times if you're taking it every day, the diminishing returns after a week or so, it's just going to be a placebo where you're actually not even getting any psychedelic benefit and people still think they are and they're still praising it, which kind of gives me a bad vibe. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way because I feel like that's a lack of knowledge. And don't get me wrong, placebo is a real, I also hate the argument that like, oh, well, it's just a placebo. Like if it makes you feel some type of way, regardless of whether or not it's a placebo, if it's improving your mood, then so be it. However, I do think if you want to do it scientifically and the way, that makes the most sense, waiting the 3 days in between has been vastly beneficial for me.
Yeah, I agree with you that like if it works for you, even if it's a placebo, I feel like it's actually still kind of good. So it reminds me actually like Reiki, which is like energy healing.
Yep.
There's studies that show that Reiki has benefits. It improves this or it improves that, whatever it might be, but they can't really figure out why it happens. There's no like scientific reasoning behind it. So they think it might be placebo effect. So a lot of people though like talk badly about Reiki. In my opinion, I don't care if it's a placebo. If it works, it still helps this X, Y, and Z, then I'm still for it. It just kind of, to me, also shows how strong the mind is, that when your mind actually believes in something, your mind is the one that's doing like a lot of the healing.
Yeah.
So I take the once every 3 days. Sounds like you take once every 3 days. Are there any other best practices that you employ, or like do you take it in the morning, at night? Does it matter? If you have like a big day or an emotional day coming up, do you make sure that that's one of your days you take it and then kind of switch up the schedule?
So first of all, I think morning for me is just like I almost always take it early in the day. For whatever reason, I don't know. It puts me on my feet. It starts my day right. I feel like if I take it earlier in the day, even let's say I take it 10 in the morning or something like that, by 4 p.m. the effects of the microdose would be wearing off. However, that good feeling persists, I feel like always until almost I go to sleep. Like, so even if the psilocybin might not, again, back to placebo, even if the drug is out of my system, the medicine is out of my system. I still will feel it throughout the day, and I feel those relaxed effects. And I also think because you're sort of tapped in on a certain level of clarity, I like it in the mornings because I feel like sometimes if I took it too late, it might interfere with my ability to sleep those nights. Like I said, I don't take it at night often, but I'm someone who's kind of manic and has trouble sleeping as it is. So to me, that just makes the most sense. But if you're someone, let's say you're an artist and you're going to stay up all night to make music, there have been times where, I'm in a session with 3 or 4 or 5 other friends and we all decide to microdose later in the day. Facilitates great vibes in the music. So I guess it's just a situational thing. But when it comes to like consistency and like living a normal schedule and, I think morning works best for me personally.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And then something else, I take it in the morning always just because I feel like it does give me so much energy that it might take away from my sleep if I take it too late in the day. Something else though also is I just like blanked out. I take it early in the morning, and then what was I about to say? Oh, also my first time taking it, or if I'm ever like changing up the formula or anything, I kind of take my first time on a day that I don't have like too many responsibilities or no responsibilities that are like so different. So I wouldn't go to like my first day at a new job maybe with a microdose. Not to say I think it would affect it at all, but just to like make sure that I'm comfortable and like everything is how I anticipate it. So friends of mine who like I try and say, hey, maybe try this out, I think it'd be helpful. I try to have them or tell them, mention like, hey, maybe try it on a Saturday or Sunday for your first time before you like get into it. Not that I think or have I heard anyone having trouble working with it, but just to like be careful and take things easy on something so new. So that's like another thing I like to do. And then also I guess I like to do or start off with little amounts. I do sometimes take 2 or 3 capsules. I feel like that's maybe something for a more advanced user though, when they really know exactly what they're expecting and feeling. I wouldn't recommend that to someone who's like in their first month of doing it, but I definitely sometimes up the dosage, not to necessarily like feel a little more, but kind of to feel a little more.
Yeah, I going off of what you said too is like you said on days where you have shit to do. Yeah, I'm the same way where normally I try to take it on days where I'm not going to be super like overwhelmed or busy, or I have like, tedious work to do. If I'm going to be staring at a screen, especially, like that's the one thing I always feel is that when I take them, I'm super drawn to nature and I really want to be in nature. And if I'm stuck inside and I have to work and I don't have the option to go outside, sometimes that can give me a minor, not claustrophobic feeling, but it's like, the medicine is calling you to nature. So if you are stuck inside with no, like for me, last week I was mixing and I mixing and mastering my whole friend's album, and it was like 60 hours in 1 week of just computer work. So like the days where I microdosed, I made sure like, all right, I'm going to clear out my whole morning and not, work until I'm like, it's kind of out of my system so I can enjoy the day. And then it also gives you that reset where the work will feel fresh again and it won't feel so terrible because you're kind of giving that earlier part of your day intention to feel good. So then when you return to the work, you're not, like, oh, fuck, I know I want to go outside, but I can't. I have this deadline. There's no, external pressures.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What's it called? Would you, why do I keep on blinking? I'm too lost in what you're saying that I forget what I'm trying to say.
I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah, because I like have these questions like ready to ask. I'm like, oh, I want to ask him this, and then as I'm listening to what you're saying, by the time it's my turn, I'm like, I completely forgot what I was supposed to say. I think it came back a little bit, or maybe this is good enough, but. You said you like to, or it like brings you a little bit to nature. You're drawn to nature when you're on it. I am too. I feel like I have an appreciation for just outdoors more when I'm on it. I just the simple things just I appreciate more. What other benefits have you seen from it? Not ones that you might have heard could benefit or this or that, but like personally, what have you benefited from your experiences with it?
So I just want to give an anecdotal experience real quick that I texted you about yesterday with my Easter and stuff.
Yep.
So this is, I'll get to what I experienced, and then also, so basically yesterday it was Easter, and I went over to my dad's house. I had given him one of the like month supply bags of microdoses, and my dad is like a super down to earth hippie. He's, when he was younger, he actually, had full on trips. He smokes a lot. He smokes weed and everything. And, I can tell that he's kind of in a cycle right now where he's like inside a lot. He works a lot, and he just kind of puts a lot of pressure on himself. So I gave him the microdoses, and I was kind of just, trying to be the angel on his ear and be like, hey, man, give it a shot, whatever. And he was a little bit skeptical, and he's like, well, I don't want to feel fucked up or X, Y. I'm like, dude, it's not even like, I promise you it's not like that, whatever. At the same time, I never want to force my experience and my anecdotal things. I just have done a lot of research, and I'm like, hey, Dad, I wouldn't recommend this if I personally thought it was bad. If it didn't help me, I've experienced it. So yesterday was Easter. I go over. He didn't have shit to do the day. He cleared out his whole schedule for me to be there. There was a lot of intention already put in before I was even over there. And I went over and I was like, hey, today'd be it was beautiful out. I was like, today'd be the perfect day to try it. And I was also there. So like, if you had any questions about how he was feeling or anything, it just made me feel good that I could like be there as a resource. So he tried his first microdose yesterday. It's funny because, normally the intention of microdosing is supposed to be sub-perceptual. And this is something I'll get back to, but I think it's interesting how for some people it's totally sub-perceptual and other people it is perceptual with the same dose, even with no tolerance. It's just a person-to-person thing. I think that has to do, some people are very just aware of their inner ecology or whatever. My dad's definitely one of those people. He's kind of a hypochondriac. He always thinks, he's very just aware of his body, I'll say. And so he took it, and he was cooking dinner, and he was kind of laughing. He was like, wow, I feel really loose. I feel good. And he's just kind of like moving his head around. He's like, it's like I'm high, like smoking weed or whatever. He's like, it's like I'm high, but like I feel good. I don't feel that clouded feeling. It's like a clarity instead of that like fog. Wow. And I just see him as he's cooking. He's jazzed. He's loving it. And he's like, wow. Like, and then as he was waiting for the dinner to cook, I see him like peeking out the window at the birds. And he's like, wow, like I feel like I'm in tune with nature right now. I feel like I'm like flying with the bird when I look at it. Like, and I was like, dude, like you're experiencing it for sure. Like, the way he was talking, I'm like, oh, that's exactly how I feel when I take it. It was so funny too, because we're very similar when it comes to like, high metabolism, kind of manic energy. So he's like a mirror, and watching him experience what I experienced already gave me even more clarity onto how much it helps me. So we were eating dinner. Towards the end of dinner, I remember he was like on his last couple bites, and he just looks at me and he goes, I just want to be finished so I can just like be in the now. He's like, fuck this food. I don't want to deal with anything taking me away from the moment. So he like, quickly eats his last couple of bites, and then he was like stretching out. We have like a real big soft carpet in the living room. He's like, I'm just going to lay and stretch. I feel great. So right after dinner, he's stretching on the rug, and he just looks at me and he was like, I haven't felt this relaxed in years. He's like, oh my God, because sometimes when we smoke, it gives you that sort of like mild, for me personally, like when I first smoke, I get a little bit more manic until it like the weed sets in, and then I kind of will fully chill out. So he's like that too. He'll smoke and I can tell he'll get real like a high vibration. Whereas this, he was like, I feel like that same like kind of feeling, but he's like, it's complete relaxation, complete clarity. He was rolling and stretching and feeling his body. And then he looks at me at one point, he's like, I want to do like push-ups right now. He's like, I feel so energized. He's like, normally like my body has aches and pains. He's like, right now I feel so clear. I can feel, he's like, I'm so aware of the vibration flowing through every portion of my body, all my limbs. He said he was doing yard work the day before. He's like, my leg was sore. And he's like, now I feel the soreness, but instead of like being annoyed by it, I'm just aware of it. And I can almost appreciate it. It's like a good kind of soreness from like hard work. And his perspective was just amazing. So we were sitting there hanging out, and I just got to completely watch. And he's like, I really think I might like, start doing this, blah, blah. And then I told him, I was like, well, make sure you wait the 3 days. It'll become a placebo. I gave him the proper information. I was like, if you want to do it properly. But he was absolutely an advocate. It was amazing, and to see how tapped in, how relaxed. This dude is so manic. You know me, I'm hyper. I talk fast. Imagine me times 100. Like, to see him just relaxing and breathing and being in the now was like, it almost brought a tear to my eye. It was really wholesome.
That's awesome. No, it definitely sounds like a lot of the benefits I've experienced and people close to me have experienced as well. And the range of benefits are pretty extensive also. It can, I feel, help everything from energy to like depression to just appreciating nature and a bunch of stuff in between. So pretty cool. I think that about wraps up our time for our episode 1 of Dan and Jer. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I learned a bit more about microdosing, and I'm excited to just explore more. I'm definitely not an expert by any means in the field, but I think it's going to be something that continues to grow, and excited to learn with you guys along the way. Danny, any closing thoughts?
No, I couldn't agree more. I'm really excited to see where the science of microdosing goes. I think kids my age are really starting to be interested in it. They're not looking at it as like, oh, you're going to be tripping, you're going to be fun. Yeah. I think a lot of kids who were like the typical kids my age who just party and drink, like college type of age, they always had a negative connotation with psychedelics, like, oh, you're going to be fucked up or you're going to be X, Y, Z. And now I think there's a lot more interest, a lot more people understand it in a positive light. And it's just getting started. That'll continue. But it's a beautiful thing to see, and I'm happy to be on that frontier as it changes.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Dan. Awesome time. I'll see you next week. Everyone check out Danny's music. It's dope. He just released an album like a month or two ago. And everyone check out Much More, our first and only sponsor, Much More Mushroom Supplements. Check us out on Instagram, or check them out on Instagram, not affiliated with us. All right, see you guys later. Peace.